and welcome everyone to the UNIPOWER webinar. My name is John Ely. I'm the Vice President of Marketing. And joining me on the presentation today is John Rambin. John, if you could introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm John Rambin, Manager for Applications Engineering and Technical Support here at UNIPOWER. I've been doing this for about 25 years, going back to the days at C&D. Thanks, John.
Great, thank you, John. And today we are talking about industrial and utility battery chargers. So in specific, we're going to talk about two of our models, the ARR-M and the ARR-ES. And we're going to talk about some specifications, applications, ideas, even get you some detailed pictures of the inside of the unit to talk about some service and maintenance. Towards the end of the presentation, we'll have a chart up to determine the best fit for you or your customer's application. And then we also have some next steps. We have a lot of data, a lot of publications that we produce at UNIPOWER. So kind of get you into the next steps for getting your customer into the right battery charger application. So if you are familiar with UNIPOWER, if you're not, we are a manufacturer of DC power systems, and we really hang our hat on reliability and the robustness of our designs. We serve a few different markets, from telecom, data centers, utilities, energy storage. But today, since we're talking about utility and industrial chargers, mostly focusing on the utility space. All of our utility battery chargers are made in our plant in Dunlap, Tennessee. So these are all made in the USA and manufactured from raw materials to finished goods in the factory that you see a picture of here. So our charging systems, we have quite a few battery chargers, families of battery chargers that we offer. They go from, they can have single or three-phase input, a wide range of AC inputs, DC outputs of 24, 48, or 130 volts, and they range in output current from 6 to 500 amps. Now we make quite a few different models from the ARE to the ARR legacy, but the two models we're talking about today are highlighted here in red, the ARR-M and the ARR-ES. ARR-M is by far our biggest seller. The ARR-ES is right behind that, but we still do offer those other legacy models. And so today, we're talking about two specific types of topology for industrial battery chargers. One is Ferro Resonant, and the other is SCR or silicon controlled rectifier. Now the primary job, no matter which one of these you choose, it takes AC power and provides highly regulated DC power output to charge batteries. So these are battery chargers. So let's talk about the Ferro Resonant model first, and that is the ARE-M. So a Ferro Resonant, it achieves its line regulation more through physics and less through electronics. So a Ferro Resonant uses a very, very large transformer and a tuning tank circuit to regulate the DC output. And what that means is there's not a lot of electronic parts inside the Ferro Resonant unit. So it's very reliable, a very tried and true design. And low parts count leads to a higher MTBF. They're very dependable. We've had these units out for 20, 25, 30 years or more. So a very reliable, very dependable unit. It covers a wide range of applications, and we'll talk about that on a chart later when we show the voltages and outputs. And they're very easy to service and repair. John Rambin is going to open the front of these and show you some pictures inside, show you what the inside of one of these units looks like and how we service and repair them. So again, a Ferro Resonant, very, very highly regulated unit, low in electrical noise, and it, just like any battery charger, we can limit the current, and again, we do that. There is a microprocessor control board in here, so it does achieve its regulation through physics, but we do control the tank circuit with a microprocessor. It offers temperature compensation, which is a common feature on battery chargers, especially in utility applications. We measure ambient temperature and compare that against the battery temperature to alarm if there's anything out of balance. We also offer a battery eliminator option if you need to black start these units or run them without batteries. Excellent serviceability. Again, we're going to show you the inside. Very easy to service. All the serviceable parts are right inside the front cover, and it does offer circuit protection, so the unit will protect itself in a failure mode. So John Rambin, I'd like to turn it over to you to talk about some of the details of the specifications and serviceability of the ARR-M Ferro Resonant charger.
Thanks, John. On this slide, we're seeing the front panel of the ARR-M charger. It's very similar to what we see on the ARES as well. Both types of chargers are equipped with a digital display containing a 2-line by 20 character display that shows voltage and current. Meter display is 1% accuracy. Float and equalize settings, as well as all user assignable parameters, are adjusted via front keypad and submenu structure that's displayed on the 2-line display. All chargers, 100%, are equipped with individual alarm LEDs for a quick visual reference to any operators that are on site. You have a red alarm LED that's normally not on, just below the display. And you have a green AC LED that, as long as AC service is present, the green LED is illuminated. You also have all chargers equipped with a ground fault detection circuit that displays the level of severity of ground fault using the front panel menus and keypad. All available alarms have an adjustable time delay. So the default is 5 seconds, and that can be adjusted all the way up to 300 seconds or down to 1 second if necessary. Next slide. So here we're looking inside the ARR-M charger with the door open. On the left, top left quadrant there, we see the alarm interface. This alarm interface, the one shown here, actually is the all alarms interface. There's a standard interface that only includes the 3 relay outputs that we see on the right. Standard relays are high voltage shutdown, AC fail, and rectifier fail. The all alarms relay extends those 3 standards to include summary alarm relay, no charge alarm relay output, low voltage alarm, ground fault positive, and ground fault negative relay outputs. Load sharing is a standard feature on all these ARR-M chargers. It only requires a single 18-gauge wire terminated between the load share terminals of each charger to be included in the load share scheme. We can load share, the typical application is just 2 chargers, but we can extend that to 3 or 4 or even 5 as necessary. Equalize timer is a standard feature for all ARR-Ms. It can be set to 0 to 255 hours, and it can also be set to automatically equalize. If a battery manufacturer recommends automatic equalize, it can be set to automatically equalize some batteries every couple of weeks, for instance. Ground fault detection alarm, again, is always included. The standard interface, as well as the alarm interface, can additionally be ordered with a ground fault detection disable switch, which allows an operator to disengage our ground fault detection circuit in case there's already an external ground fault detection circuit deployed, or when troubleshooting a ground fault, it's useful not to have a ground fault circuit in play while the troubleshooting is being performed. Next slide, please. So typical dimensions, we have 3 different cabinet sizes for the ARR-M series, 12, 24, and 30 inch. 12 and 24 inch cabinets can be mounted in either 19 or 23 inch relay racks, whereas the 30 inch tall charger can only be mounted in a 23 inch relay rack. All chargers can also be equipped with the standard wall mount brackets or floor mount brackets. If floor mount brackets are ordered, you have the option of also ordering with an optional drip top. Next slide, please.
Great, thank you, John.
Yep.
So the ARR-M series, while they do have a lot of optional features, there are a lot of things that do come standard. So obviously, this is a Ferro Resonant charger, so it is controlled. The output is controlled by a Ferro Resonant transformer and tunable tank circuit. It is controlled by a microprocessor, so the inputs are set on a microprocessor and then sent to that tank circuit for control. As John mentioned, has a 2-line by 20 character display on all units, and they're all listed to MetLab's E212313. So every one of these is NTRL listed. The lights, alarm lights are all included with 3 standard alarm relays, and there are additional alarm relays available, as John mentioned. Equalizer timers always included, as well as a ground voltmeter, and proportional load sharing with the ARE and ARR-M both. So as John said, most of the time that's 2 units to do load share, but you can stack more than 2 units together and equalize the load share. So some of the optional things, again, the multiple relay alarms, you can add up to 6 additional relay alarms. You can add a type of over voltage protection like a lightning arrestor or MOVs. Also add blocking diodes if necessary. We also offer high KIC breakers on the AC side and also on the DC side. There's temperature compensation, drip tops available on the largest cabinet, as John mentioned, and DMP3 over Ethernet communications. We also offer floor stands for these units, so you can mount these units in a variety of ways. On the right is a chart of the standard models, and again, this presentation will be available for download, so this is a nice reference slide to look at the standard models on the ARE-M side. So the other charger that we're talking about today is the ARE-S, or the SCR Charger. Again, that stands for Silicon Controlled Rectifier. So this unit achieves its regulation in a little bit different way. We actually use SCRs and we switch across a smaller transformer. So that's one of the differences, is the SCR Charger achieves its regulation more through electronics and a switcher, and not so much through the physics of the transformer. So again, it requires a microprocessor to interface, and reliability on these is very high. Just like we have the Ferro Resonant chargers out in the field for many years, we see the SCR chargers lasting nearly as long. So 20-25 years is not uncommon for one of our SCR chargers. Again, a wide range of applications. We've got a chart at the end that shows all the applications of both units compared to each other, so it's a good application chart for reference. Generally, it's a lower cost unit. The Ferro Resonant has a very large heavy transformer, a lot of copper, so it's usually a more expensive unit. The SCR unit is generally a less expensive option, and it meets all the industry specifications just like the Ferro Resonant charger does. So these are single phase. Again, we're talking about the ARE-S. They're single phase chargers, 120 to 480 AC input. We have in the 48 volt flavor, 16 to 50 amp, in the 130 volt flavor, 6 to 75 amps. Again, there's a chart at the end that outlines all these models. Easy to maintain, just like when we looked on the inside of the front cover of the Ferro Resonant charger, all the serviceable parts are right behind the front cover on this unit as well. So very easy to service, very easy to maintain. A lot of visual indicators, just like the Ferro, and this product is listed UL 1012 and CSA 107.1. meets all the specifications for SCR charging systems. So again, I'm going to turn it over to John Rambin to talk a little more about the control specifications and serviceability of the ARE-S.
All right, once again, we see the front face of a ARE-S charger, very similar to the ARE-M we looked at earlier. So we have basically the same 2-line display and 4-button keypad that we saw on the ARE-M. Very similar menu structure. So if you're deploying this in organizations that are already familiar with the ARE-M, the keypad and submenu structure for the ARE-S should present no problem for operators that are already familiar with the ARE-M. So again, we see the full array, vertical array there of LEDs for individual alarm representation. And just like the ARE-M, we have the AC and DC breakers always present. And the control board is mounted on the rear of door for easy access. So we open the door. If a main controller needs to be replaced, simply open the door, remove 4 screws, and replace the control board. You'll notice also just below the 4-button keypad, all ARE-S's are always equipped with this ground fault disable switch. It's an option. It remains an option still on the ARE-M, but we decided to always deploy the switch with the ARE-S. Just kept things simpler. Next slide, please. Here we have the open door on an ARE-S charger, again showing the interface boards. There's 2 of them this time. The top board is optional. This is how we extend the standard alarm relays. We see the relays, 3 of them on the top of the standard interface board. And then we extend the standards, again, which are high voltage shutdown, AC fail, and rectifier fail relays, to include discrete alarm relay outputs for all other available alarms, including the summary alarm. And this time, we go a little further in providing 2 user-definable custom alarm relay outputs. And with the custom relay outputs, these can be programmed to change states with any available and assignable alarm threshold or system event, to include equalize, summary, ground fault, positive, negative, LVA, HVA, LCA, and high battery temperature alarm even. Also, load sharing circuit is always included. This time, instead of a 18-gauge wire, we're using a simple Ethernet cable to tie between the 2 chargers. We have the ground fault meter available via the front panel display, also displaying the severity of the ground fault in either ohms or voltage. Looking at the open door of this charger, you see that most user serviceable components are easily accessed. There's plenty of room in these cabinets to access the components that might require replacement, to include all the PC boards, DC and AC breaker on the front mounting plate, as well as capacitors that might need to be replaced every 15, 20 years. Nowadays, capacitors are lasting a good long time. Again, all relays, just like with the ARE-M, and alarms, we can assign a programmable delay. Equalized timer is always present. Next slide, please. Physical dimensions of the ARE-S cabinets. This time we have 4 different cabinets available, 12, 17, 24, and 30. 12, 17, and 24-inch cabinets can be relay rack mounted in either 19 or 23-inch. And again, with a 30-inch cabinet, we can only mount this in a 23-inch relay rack. Just like with the ARE-M, all these are wall mountable and floor mountable. And with the floor mount, we have the optional drip top available as well. Next slide.
Great. Thank you very much, John. And just like the ARE-M, the ARE-S has a lot of options, but it comes with some standard features. They're all single-phase chargers, SCR controlled, controlled through a microprocessor, and the information is displayed on the 2x20 character display on the front panel. They are nationally recognized, listed on MetLab file E212313, similar to the Ferro Resonant charger. And again, alarm standard with 3 alarm relays. We have 2 of those user definable. Equalizer timer is always included, as well as the ground voltmeter. And again, proportional load sharing is available, 2 or more units. You can stack up 2 or more units. Some of the options, again, just like the earlier unit, you can have up to 10 additional alarm relays on that separate board that John talked about on the inside of the unit. Lightning arresters and MOVs are available, as well as blocking diodes. And again, high interrupt AC and DC breakers are available for these units. Temperature compensation, drip tops, and floor stands also available on the ARE-S. Again, on the right, we show a chart of the standard models. Again, this is going to be available for download, so you can use this as a reference chart for the standard models of the ARE-S. Okay, that brings us to how do you determine your best fit between the ARE-M Ferro Resonant charger and the ARE-S SCR charger. What we've done, we've created a chart for you here, and you'll see that the ARE-M is in the lighter gray. The ARE-S is in the darker gray. And we've laid this out in an intuitive manner. So typically what you're doing when you're speccing a charger, you're determining the DC output, and then you're going to determine the AC input. So again, we've aligned the voltages for you here, the current in this column, and then moving on to the AC input voltage and current here. So there are times when simply the DC output or AC input is determining which model you're going to use. So for instance, if you have a 24-volt output application, you'll see that your choice is the ARE-M. That comes in 24 volt and various current outputs. There are other times in a 48-volt application where you may need 480 volt in on the AC input or 100 amp out on the DC output. And again, here it's the ARE-M would be your only choice there. And there's also an instance in the 130 volt applications. If you need 75 amp output, then again, at the bottom of the chart here, the only option is the ARE-S. So there again, so sometimes it is simply the specifications that determine which model you use. And John Rambo, I'm going to ask, are there applications or engineering design differences that might determine which one of these models that you use?
Well, yeah, the Ferro Resonant chargers are basically a simpler design. It's going to have a lower parts count, even though the material costs may be slightly higher. The Ferro Resonant charger has, to regulate the output, for instance, has a single triac that we gate to regulate the DC output, whereas the SCR control charger is going to have 2 SCRs and 2 diodes in the bridge rectifier. And we have to fire 2 SCRs to regulate the DC output. So lower part count, simpler, basically a simpler deployment, simpler maintenance for the customer that wants a Ferro Resonant charger. For that reason, we see Ferro Resonant in specs. The ARE-S may be slightly less expensive as it uses less material, less iron and copper in those input power transformers. But again, they're both very reliable. They're a 20-year design, probably last 30 or 40 years. They're going to remain serviceable for a very long time. So it really becomes a preference of the end user and customer.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. So If you're familiar with UNIPOWER, you are familiar with the fact that we publish a lot of material. So as far as next steps here, we invite you to visit us at unipowerco.com, and that is unipowerco.com. We have a specific link here to the industrial chargers, but we produce a lot of DC power products, and information is available on all of them. And we also have some general links to units that we talked about today on the slide here. There's a lot of information on the website. We welcome you to come in, browse around. If you have questions, please contact us. We will always help you find the right product for the right application. So that concludes the webinar for today. We'd like to thank you for your time, and John and I again thank you for your attention. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.